All right, it's time to talk golf on Prime Sports Network as another Masters is come and gone and has come and gone. And I got to tell you, Jared, I actually think that right now we might be going through what I would consider called a Tiger Woods jinx. Now, what a Tiger Woods jinx is, do you know? Obviously, you do. Do you know how emotional and thrilling and historical that Masters was?
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
The last four Masters, the last hour or two of the event, we could have all gone to sleep. Matter of fact, I slept through the Matsuyama Dustin Johnson Masters anyway because there was no crowd. And then the last two have been runaways. Really, three of the last four have been runaways. So these Masters, we have not really had a good Masters since 2019.
I was saying that to my brother actually on Saturday about this year's Masters. Sunday was pretty good though. I mean, first of all,
you actually thought that Jon Rahm wasn't going to win, sure.
I mean, we got 27 holes from.
How did you
not leaders,
know Jon Rahm was going to win?
Well, I'll tell you what. On Saturday morning, I put a little chunk of change on Rahm to win. He was like plus 165. That kind of broke me even for the week. And the reason I did that, honestly, is because, and this is long before we started doing this show, but there was a 3 or 4 years in a row where I bet Jon Rahm to win the Masters. And when I started betting him, he was like 30 to 1. And then next year he was 25, then he was 20, then he was 16. And like now, he was 8 to 1. It's not a bet I was going to make, but I was happy to see him win it. Him and Scheffler have been the two best players by a long shot for the past 3 months. Scheffler got the Players win. Rahm gets the Masters. Seems fair.
Yeah, same thing. When I had Koepka on, I don't know which day it was, but Rahm was still 3 to 1. So I don't know what day it was, if it was Saturday or yet. But at that 3 to 1, I was it. I got to hedge him because I had so much going on Koepka that I was like, and that's all I did. I made same like you. I made my money back, but I could have made a lot of money with Koepka, and so.
And my biggest regret of the week was when Rahm made his double bogey on his first hole of the tournament. I opened my phone, clicked over to the book. He was 16 to 1 after that double bogey, and I looked at it. I was like, I already bet too much money on this tournament. I'm not going to put another bet down, but that would have been a smart move.
Well, still, double bogey, 16 to 1. It's still not, maybe if it would have been 20 to 1 or something. But anyway, fact is, the first majors in the books, it would have been a lot more exciting had, imagine the excitement if we had Mickelson and Spieth battling for the lead with those two guys coming down together. That would have, and I understand that that's what kept things interesting.
Yep.
But again, Jon Rahm wasn't coming back to the pack, and but at least that made the day interesting. Without that, then it's really just complete and utter boredom for the day.
I feel like we see that at the Masters a lot, where guys on Sunday who aren't really in it make bigger. I mean, we saw last year with Rory, who was really never really in it, but he had an awesome Sunday. And you look back now, and he was second place last year, even though he really never had a chance. That's kind of what it feels like Spieth and Mickelson did this year, where they were so far back they were able to just freewheel it, play aggressive, make a bunch of birdies. Whereas those guys in the final two groups, including Hovland and Cantlay, who were both really disappointing in that final round. Those guys were playing quite a bit tighter than the guys,
Big
farther
surprise,
back.
Huh? Hovland and Cantlay playing tight in a major.
So Cantlay, I'm to the point where I'm with you. Like, it's an issue for him in the majors. As soon as he gets a sniff of it, he drops back. Hovland at this point, I feel like these are good experience for him. He's a younger player.
Yeah.
He was in the final group at the Open, 2 majors ago now, and then he was in the second final group on Sunday at the Masters. So it's just 2 straight majors where he's been in the mix, and he hasn't played super, but I feel like it's going to be something for him to launch off of going forward.
Yeah. Speaking of the Open, that was early on when I made my long-term observations on one and done. The very top event for me for Victor Hovland was the Open.
Nice.
And we talked about this about a couple months ago about how, I mean, why not? Isn't that the perfect, if he's going to win a major, he's going to do it over in Europe. Because all you have to do is say he still hasn't won on U.S. soil. He's just a guy. He's won a few times over, big European Tour events. He played well at the Open, as you said. And I could see him breaking through. And if he does it, though, he's going to break through with the Open Championship. So
the short game is still his problem. It's improved quite a bit into like the first 2.5 rounds at Augusta. His short game was awesome. But then, Saturday and mostly into, Sunday, and that final round on Sunday, you started to see, the shortcomings of his short game. And I think, that was his major undoing.
Phil, it'll be interesting to see whether or not this was more of, because he can talk about how, and he looks like he's in shape, as much as shape as Phil can be, and he's not going to put muscle on, and he even has talked about that. It's more about long-term and flexibility, but he's in shape. He doesn't have any fat, which you've seen from Phil before. By the way, so he has a problem with his eyes, right? I believe so.
Is that why he wears the sunglasses?
Yeah, I believe so. Because he was in the press conference, his eyes were bloodshot. I mean, I think I could remember hearing something about he had some sort of issues with his eyes. Anyway, so it'll be interesting to see. He talked up a good game afterwards that he's feeling good and should have a good season now if things keep going the way they are. So we'll see. He'll play in majors. That's the only time we're going to get a chance to see him. But it could also just be that Phil is awesome at the Masters. So
that's what I was going to say. I'd be surprised if he works his way into the mix in these other 3 majors. Do you know that I saw this today? Phil gained the same amount of strokes against the field this year as Tiger did in 2019.
Wow.
So in other words, he played as well as Tiger did. Phil just happened to be in this year where Rahm played as well as he did. So, as crazy as it sounds, Phil could have won the Masters.
That is exactly, by the way, what we have been talking about. I know I've had these conversations for a long time regarding how great Tiger Woods is, but he would have, I would say, 20 less wins if he were playing nowadays against the competition he was playing against. He just was going. You take a look. All anybody has to do is take a look at the leaderboards. When you take a look at the people he used to beat, and you go, "Who the hell are these guys?" Really under. I don't even know what the right word would be. I don't want to slam somebody, but it was just not good.
Well, I totally agree with you. It's also true that I think the game is so competitive now because of Tiger Woods.
Absolutely.
He blazed that path. He was ahead of the curve in terms of being in the weight room.
And that's usually the way it is, isn't it? The great ones are ahead of the game. They're the ones that are put. That's like if you put John Rahm to when Tiger was playing, he'd be doing the same thing, pretty much.
Exactly. Yep.
So it's a combination of being great and also getting lucky that you're in an era where no one else is really anywhere near as good as you are. Yep. But again, like you said, a lot of it is thanks to Tiger, no question about it. And he made the cut. He barely made the cut to keep his string alive. But as we said last week, and it came true again, if you aren't close after the first couple of rounds at the Masters, you have no chance. You just don't come back. And that's what's sad, is that you don't get those really good scores from the 4th round on the 3rd round, so you can make it a little bit more interesting.
All right.
But anyway, all right, so we'll see what this does for the rest of the season, because as you said, Scheffler Players, Rahm Masters, so we're off to a good start. We don't have any crazy winners. And this week we have the RBC Heritage, and as you mentioned last week, this is an event where it's elevated. I have no idea why. Somebody has to explain that, especially coming right after the Masters. So everybody's playing except Day and McIlroy. No one else but Day and McIlroy, right?
Did Day withdraw?
Yeah, no, he. I don't know if he withdrew. He's not playing.
Oh, well, I thought Hideki. It was Hideki and Rory were the two I was aware of.
Hideki wasn't playing, or he withdrew.
Yeah, Hideki. I don't think he was ever in the field. And
Okay.
then I know Rory withdrew this afternoon.
All right.
The last I heard, Day was in this field, but
Yeah, no, Day wasn't in. I'm not sure if he was in yesterday even.
Yep, you're right. Yeah, he withdrew. He withdrew first thing this morning. It looks like. Yep,
okay.
He's out.
Otherwise, everyone else is here, and when we talk about one and dones, as we always do to lead things off here, there are a lot of really good possibilities, and that's the real trick. Is that it's coming after a Masters, so there's going to be a letdown a little bit. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
But the good thing in a way, I mean, there's just I'd be shocked. As good as Jon Rahm is, I'd be shocked if he's included in on the top leaderboard. His head's got to be in a completely different stratosphere. I don't care how much money's on the line. He doesn't need it right now. So that's one. Okay, John. Now the other players, you got to think about guys that have hardly played here because of the fact that this is an event they usually play right after the Masters. So you have a lot of good players that have had like either one or two attempts, and it was years ago, or Scheffler's never played here. So again, I think that compared to the other elevated events, I think this is an event that we have a better chance to have maybe not the top guys, but the next group. Whether it's the from Spieth, Hovland, Young, Lowry, and in that grouping, the 40 to 1 group. And the only thing we don't know about is whether or not the trends that used to be here are going to come into effect. I don't think that's going to be the case, because if you look at it, there have been like 3 different trend cycles in the last 10 years. The last 3 years have been won by former major champs. 2 of them, Sink and Simpson, so it's not like those are like superstars. Then the 4 years prior, they went on a run of 4 straight first-time PGA Tour winners, including 2 that had never been to the golf course before. And that had, they had a ranking of 113 in there and 73. The 3 years prior to that, you had guys like Furyk and Kuchar and McDowell. 2 out of the 3 major champs. Kuchar's almost a major champ. So there's been these little kind of runs of trends, but I think the one that we're on now, the fact that Spieth won last year with the major winners the last 3 years, that's going to, I think, start like a new trend because of the fact that that's only if this field is going to continue to be this way. I have no idea how the schedule is going to change every year. But at least for this year, you would think it's going to go back to being at least what we've seen the last year or two.
Yeah, the timing of this event makes it tricky, and the course makes it tricky. You could not have 2 different courses back-to-back on the schedule. Augusta, long, wide open. Harbor Town, super short. It's 7,100 yards, super, super tight, tree-lined everywhere. You have to shape the ball. You're going to have very few drivers on this course. The average driving distance here is 268 yards. That's about 15 yards shorter than the tour average. So you're going to have guys hitting irons off tee. It's an accuracy course, the complete opposite of Augusta. So it's like a different sport almost that they're going to be playing this week versus last week.
Yeah, and that's another reason why if you're like a bomber or you're someone that really likes the Masters and Augusta National, why you would skip RBC Heritage, Harbor Town. It's just a normal kind of deal. So, but again, this is one and done. And I definitely for me, this is not one of those events that I would take one of the top 3 or 4. Well, McIlroy's out of the picture. So, like I said,
Yep.
if you haven't taken Rahm, you're crazy if you take him this week after winning last week. So the only, like, if you have Scheffler, I just wouldn't do it. I mean, I don't know about you, but even though it's an elevated event, I don't know. I mean, coming off the Masters and all the distractions he had as defending champ, I'm just not sure what we're going to get out of Scheffler this week.
Yeah, like you said, it is elevated. So we have the big prize pool.
Big prize pool.
Tied for the second highest behind only the players. Yeah, I definitely would not take Rahm. The argument for Scheffler would be that I think he's going to be low owned. Not many people are going to use him. And he did strike the ball unbelievably. He hit it well enough to win this week. The guy could not make a putt. He was second in the field tee to green last week behind only John Rahm. He couldn't make a putt. So I think Scheffler is going to be motivated this week. I really do. Now I'm still not using him for one and done because I think I've already used him personally. If I hadn't, I think there's a lot better spots for Scheffler down the road.
All right. So we go to the player. See, we have to bring up this player easily because everybody's going to pick him. And I think a lot of people are going to pick him for one and dones. And his odds are almost as good as the big 3 or 2 that's left, and that's Patrick Cantlay.
Yep.
So Cantlay's history here, outside of one missed cut, are 7th or better in 4 of his 5, 2/3 and a runner-up. The runner-up was last year. And keep in mind, last year he really should have won. Last year he kind of choked it up down the stretch, and Jordan Spieth stole that one from him. But everybody's going to take Cantlay. I got to think a lot of people are taking Cantlay on one and dones.
Yeah, it is the perfect spot for him. He's good here. He's good on short golf courses. We'll get to that list in a second. He's good on Pete Dye courses. This is a Pete Dye course. So everything kind of is coming together for Cantlay. I've already used him in one and done, so I don't have to worry about that. This is a case where, like, if you're near the top of your one and done league and can afford to take someone that's going to be popular, I think you can take Cantlay. If you're behind and chasing and need to make up ground, I would choose someone else who's going to be lower owned.
Yeah, I don't like going with, unless you're one of the 2 or 3 great players in the world. And even then, we talked last week about why was Rory the favorite. And it turned out to be ridiculous. He should not have been the favorite. What's that?
I don't know why he was the favorite. I still don't know why he was the favorite.
Yeah. So I don't like the fact that, I'm telling you, check it out. Go online and find out who's being picked. The majority, you're going to get like 80% of people are going to pick Patrick Cantlay to win this thing. And I think, I don't know. You know how it is. You get all those people going for someone. It's just not. I can understand though, if you have multiple one and dones, you want to take a chance at Cantlay, fine. Especially if he doesn't win and you wind up getting a second place, you're getting decent money. But you could also, I can completely understand, especially with potentially. But I would say if you have Scheffler and Cantlay, I'd still rather have Scheffler.
Yeah, that's fair. The guy I'm going to use is Colin Morikawa, and he didn't quite make my betting card because I was hoping for a slightly bigger number, but because I'm not betting him, I'm definitely going to use him in one and done to get some exposure to him there. I think about a course that would suit Morikawa's game, and this is the type of course I think about. Tight course where accuracy is king, small green, so you need to be on your approach game. I just think it suits Morikawa's game perfectly, and he's still playing well coming into this.
Yeah, Morikawa has played this event 3 times. He does have one top 10, but I believe all 3 times have been the last 3 years when he's followed up the Masters. So you have that, but now there's a little bit more money on the line. The 2 guys, because I've already used up Spieth, the 2 guys that I'm looking at for one and done this week. One I'm not one I might not go with. Again, it all depends. It's the elevated event, so that's why I'm thinking about it. Is to take Hovland. As much as I kind of want Open Championship, this is bigger for one and done. And the other guy is my boy Young. and you wouldn't think that this
Yeah.
golf course would make sense for him, but he finished third last year. And sometimes it doesn't matter if you're a really good player and you go to a golf course and you can just, attack the course and find a way that your game is just going to overpower it. Then that's possibly what happened last year. And he's on such a roll after playing really well at the Masters and, of course, coming up runner-up at Match Play.
That's a good point. Just because a course is short doesn't mean you can't take bombers. I think Young's edge off the tee is diminished a bit here, but these longer hitters, they're still taking shorter clubs off these tee boxes. So whereas Morikawa might have to hit a 3-wood, Cam Young might be hitting 5-iron off some of these tees, and he can be even more accurate with that shorter of a club. So that distance is still an advantage even on a course like this. And Cam Young, I was surprised to see this, and we can get into it. I looked at the top 10 players on courses shorter than 7,200 yards. Cam Young's 10th on that list. So he's done well on shorter golf courses.
Yeah, let's see. That's one of your stats, right?
Yep.
All right, hold on. So let's get these stats up here. We're going to quickly show them. There are the stats. So Jared's top 3 stats, besides the top 10 course history, the last 5 years, you got the top 10 strokes gained tee to green under 7,200 the last 2 years, and top 10 on par 4s, 4 to 450 yards the last 12 months. All right. So, pick up where you left off.
Yeah, so on those shorter courses, I mean, the guys at the top of the list kind of are what you might expect. Corey Connors, right? Not like a more of an accuracy type player. Russell Henley, a short but accurate hitter. Shane Lowry, Sung J M, shorter players. We'll talk about both of them when we get into the bets. But then you do get some bombers. Luke List is a bomber, does well on short courses. John Rahm hits it far, does well on short courses. Rahm does well everywhere, so we probably shouldn't count him. Sure. But Tony Finau, I consider a bomber, 9th on this list. So again, don't cross the bombers off your potential bets this week. Just realize that their edge isn't as big as it is on a course like Augusta.
Yeah, well, the way I look at it is when we talk about that, where we say, a certain course favors long hitters or short hitters. When you get the long hitters going to courses that favor the short, accurate hitters, that should only negate the fringe golfers like Cameron Champ, guys that need to be on, because they're not great. They have pretty much one part of their game that is so good, which is their power game, that they can't win any way, shape, or form on an accurate type of golf course like RBC Heritage or a tight golf course. So, so that's what we're doing. We're eliminating those guys, but we are not eliminating the Cam Youngs and the John Rahms and those guys. So that's what it's down to for me. It's down to Young and Hovland, and I've got to make up I got to make a call on that one. I can't wait till next year when I have 2 picks that I don't have to keep doing that. All right. So, and by the way, what do you said Morikawa was definitely going to be one of your picks?
Yeah. The other guys I'm considering are 2 of the guys we'll talk about in the bets here, but Shane Lowry and Sung J M. Okay. I'll probably end up going with one of those 2 for my second team.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and do that. Let's show the picks. So there are the picks. I've got 6 picks this week, and you're back to 4. So you're keeping it tight, and we are going to let's see. So if we had, let's see. So you got Scheffler, Cantlay, and Rahm. Yep. So sort of like we did last week. If you had to choose one of those 3, would you go Cantlay or Scheffler?
Scheffler. Cantlay's just too close, and he's closer than he should be. Yes. In odds to Scheffler.
Matter of fact, his odds weren't they like 14-1 earlier today?
Let's see. So I'm looking at it right now. Scheffler is 8-1. Rahm is 8.5-1. Cantlay is 11-1. So there's no way I'm betting Cantlay only 3 points higher than Scheffler.
No, absolutely not. Okay, agreed with that. And look, we all know Cantlay can win this thing, but we got to take the odds into account. You just have to. All right. So let's now go. And I want to let everybody know before we wrap up, when we're done talking about the RBC Heritage, we will do just a couple of minutes on taking a look at the futures for the PGA. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so next up, we've got the Morikawa group. So you've got Morikawa 18, Spieth 20, Hovland and Young 22. So out of those four, I've got two on my list, Hovland and Young this week. You wanted to put Morikawa in there, but just didn't. And by the way, I was this close. I couldn't put Spieth in there with Hovland and Young. That was just too much for me. But I was trying because we've seen it happen a little bit this year, repeat champs. And Spieth is so close to winning that maybe this is where he wins. But it's just so hard to believe, though, because Spieth is he's so erratic off the tee that he still found a way to win here last year, even how bad he is off the tee.
Yeah.
So
exactly. This doesn't seem like it would be a good Spieth course to me. I mean, his 2 times before the win, he came 68th and 54th. But then prior to that, he was 11, 12, and 9.
Yeah, he's got 4 top 15s in 6 tries. He's never missed a cut.
Yeah. By the way, though, Spieth's post-round press conference on Sunday, he basically admitted that he's worn out right now. He said he's played too much golf.
Really?
He's like, I got to figure out this elevated event thing. I've played like 8 times in the last 10 weeks. I'm feeling worn down. So that alone is enough for me to not.
That's
not
it. You hear them talking like that, and good one. That's what we need to hear. So that's because I asked exactly what I did. I was like, hasn't he played a lot? And I looked at his schedule, and I think he's played. Now I think the other one I checked now Hovland's played a little bit. But I don't know if Hovland has played just as much as Spieth.
I mean, I'd have to look through each guy. I think a lot of these guys
of them have
played a lot, just because that's how they made the schedule this year. They're jamming these elevated events in. So, fatigue's probably a factor for quite a few of these guys. That's why, maybe, not to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but I did consider betting Justin Thomas, who, is coming off the missed cut. That might not be the worst thing in the world.
And took off match play.
Took off match play. So, he's, probably one of the fresher of these elite guys.
Yeah. And look, we talked about it with Ricky Fowler a month ago. That some of these guys have got to decide, hey, you know what? Why am I going to all these elevated events when I should think about, let them go to an elevated event. When they take off, I'm going to go somewhere where I'm good at. And maybe I have to finish in the top 5, but top 5 earnings should be just fine if you finish 25th at an elevated event.
All
right. So I'm just taking a look at Hovland. So Hovland he had an extra week off. He did not play at Valspar.
All right. Yep.
So he does have that extra week. So he's actually had 7. I'm talking about the weeks. He's had week 8 off, week 11 off, week 13 off. So he's had a little bit fresher schedule. Okay. So anyway, Young and Hovland are my top 2 picks this week. And I'm getting them both at 22-1. And double check. Okay. So let's now move on to the next group. You have Schauffele, Finau at 25-1. Just quickly with those two. I wasn't feeling it much with either one of them.
Yeah, both rate out good for me. Finau's 5th in my model, Xander's 6th in my model. They're both better than you'd expect on these shorter golf courses. They don't have good histories here, though. They don't have good histories, especially Xander. He's 74th in course history among all the guys in the field. So, neither guy is having those spike weeks. They're both playing well, but they're both like coming 10th to 20th. They haven't really been in the mix to win. So
Schauffele's been a little bit better. Finau hasn't had a top 10 in his last 6. And Schauffele hasn't played here for a couple of years. I probably side with Schauffele over Finau if I had to decide on one of the two. But like I said, I don't really have a good feeling on either one of them.
Yeah, Xander 32nd, 63rd, and 64th.
Yep.
In 3 tries here. 64th was his last appearance. That was 2020.
And the best for Finau was 33rd in 20. And he played in 16 and 15. So he's only played once since 2016. All right. Next, we have Sungjae Im Matthew Fitzpatrick, and Justin Thomas, the 28-1 players.
Yep.
And I didn't realize that. I guess it just went down when we were talking. So Im's down to 28-1 now. And Im is one of your picks. So talk about why you picked Sungjae Im this week.
Yeah, well, shop around because I think you can still find better than 28 elsewhere at different books. But I like him. It's a good fit for Sungjae Im. Again, we talked. He's fourth best in this field on those shorter courses. He's third best in this field on Pete Dye courses. Now, Sungjae's played here 4 times. He missed the cut his first 2 appearances, 13th and then 21st in his last 2. And I especially like how he came 21st last year. He lost 4 strokes putting last year, still came in 21st. He was the 4th best in the field tee to green. So he hit it well enough to win, just couldn't putt, which is unlike Sungjae. He's generally a pretty good putter. He's playing well coming into this. 6th at the Players, 16th at the Masters last week. So seems like, and I've been betting Sungjae a lot this year, and I'm starting to wonder, like, am I missing something? Because he hasn't won. Obviously, he hasn't really been in the mix to win, but he's just playing so consistently well. He just needs to have one of those, spike weeks that pop up and be good enough to win an event.
All right, and then Fitzpatrick. It's just kind of, I don't want to jump on board of Fitzpatrick after one good showing because he's doing nothing. He finished surprising 10th last week or yesterday. He's had 4 top 25s in 8 appearances here. He only has 1 top 5 here. And I'll be honest, I'm actually surprised. I thought this would be a good golf course for him, a good setup, but it really hasn't been all that great. It's just been okay here.
Yeah, you think it'd be a good setup for him because he's not, he has added distance in the last year or 2, but he's still not the longest player. He is more of an accuracy player, I'd consider him.
Yep.
Man, I cannot figure him out because he was strong at the API, came 14th there. The ball striking was good. So I was like, oh, maybe he's getting healthy again. But then he was bad at the Players and Valspar, missed the cut in both of those, then was good again at the Masters. So I don't really know what to make of Fitz right now, but at 25-1, he's not going to make it for me.
It'll be interesting to follow the next, like this week and the next major to see what's going on there, because who knows, maybe he's starting to turn his attention to majors. Justin Thomas has played here 4 times, just twice since, I don't know, the last 5-6 years. So, and he has just 1 top 10, 2 top 12s. So he's been okay here, nothing great. I think he's made all 4 of his cuts. But yeah, I mean, your idea about him being rested, which he is more than some of these other players. But Justin Thomas just is not playing great golf.
That's Morikawa and JT were the last 2 guys that didn't make my card. And JT didn't make it because the reason you said he's still not at peak JT form right now. And that said, I love this course for him. Like, he's another guy. I think about a course I'd want JT at. Get the driver out of his hand because he gets erratic with the driver. But I think if you get iron in his hand, hybrid in his hand, he'll be more accurate. He is excellent working the ball both ways, which you have to do on this course. He has an awesome short game, which you need on this course. This course has the second smallest greens on tour. By the way, Pebble Beach is smallest. This has the second smallest. So you're going to miss greens. You're going to have a short game. So I think it sets up well for JT, and he's 28-1, which is a nice number for JT. So again, he came close to making it for me, but just hasn't played quite well enough, especially, last week, obviously missing the cut.
Okay. The next 2 are your picks. They're both 30-1, Shane Lowry and Max Homa. So now we've been talking about Lowry and RBC Heritage since the beginning of the season. So it's finally here. You took him. So I wasn't even going to consider it because the last time we did that with Lowry, he didn't play well at the Honda. He's played here 5 times, and in the last 4 visits, 3 top 10s, 2 third-place finishes. 1 was last year. He's starting the trend in the right direction. So, this is a nice setup for Lowry. And Homa finished 41st a couple of years ago. This is a little bit surprising to me. But again, this is an elevated event, so a little bit different than if this was just a regular golf course. I'd be a little bit more like, what? But being that there's a lot of money on the line, what did you find out about your data that suggested that this would be a good setup for Homa?
Yeah, 2 guys at 30-1. One is like a course fit bet, and that's Lowry. Homa's just like a talent value bet. So with Lowry, all the reasons you said, I mean, this is the spot for him. He's the best in this field on Pete Dye courses over the last 2 years. This is a Pete Dye course. He's fifth in course history. That includes, as you said, the 3 top 10s among the last 4 years. What I like too is Lowry has gained putting in 3 of his last 4 appearances here. The putter has been the issue for him for a while now. So maybe there's something about these greens that he likes.
Yeah.
And if he putts well, like he's been striking it well enough where he's going to be in the mix. And then of course he's coming off a nice showing at Augusta. Last week he was 7th best in the field tee to green. He again didn't putt very well. He didn't come 7th, but tee to green he was 7th best. So he's still hitting it well. Just needs to find the putter. Homa, it's just, to me, Homa at 30-1 is disrespectful. I know he's coming off another disappointing major performance. We'll see if he can figure that out, but this is not a major. He is much better than 30-1 right now, in my opinion. And as you said, 41st here in 2020. He lost 6.4 strokes between around the green and putting at that tournament. He was 8th best off the tee and 5th best on approach. I'm not worried about Homa's short game and putting. Like, he's generally pretty solid there. So if he hits the ball off the tee and on approach as he did back in 2020 and just brings his usual short game, I think he'll be right there.
Yeah, because what we have to keep in mind is his result at the Masters, and which is a completely different topic. Once again, major, he's not really in contention.
Yep.
But if we're just talking about, we're not going down that road. We're just going by what's his card look like this year. He's never been particularly good at the Masters, and if you take a look at his results before that, the guy was playing pretty good golf. So now we're back to a non-major. So yeah, I mean, I still have Homa, by the way. I haven't used him in my one and dones, but I'm not going to take him this week. You're going with a little bit more of a gamble. Okay. But this is more of a feel for you. You've got some data, but I see where you're coming from.
He shouldn't be.
He shouldn't be 30-1. Yeah.
He shouldn't be more than 20-1. I don't think. So I think I'm getting good value there.
Yeah, because really, how ridiculous is it that Patrick Cantlay's 11-1 and Max Homa is 30-1?
Well, and why is Xander and Finau and Sungjae and Patrick? Why are they at home?
And they've done nothing here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So all good. All right. Next up, we have Hatton at 40-1. Henley's 45. But one of my picks is here, 45-1. Tom Kim.
Nice.
I just felt that this would be a really good. We haven't talked much about Kim this year because he hasn't really got started yet. He hasn't done much, but I just figured, you know what, this setup, it's kind of new to everybody, being an elevated event. Maybe this is the week that we finally see Tom Kim at the on the first page of the leaderboard.
Perfect course for Tom Kim. Short accuracy course. You need short game. He has excellent short game. And coming off a nice performance at the Masters, right?
On a Bombers golf course.
Bombers golf course finished 2 under. The ball striking numbers were good. He won at Wyndham, which is another short accuracy course, not too dissimilar to this one. So I definitely considered Tom Kim as well for all those reasons. I think it's a perfect course fit for him.
Then you have a 50-1 Kuchar, Connors 55-1. By the way, Corey Connors, who was trending really good at the Masters, that went away big time after winning a few days prior. Kuchar, though, 50-1. Fowler 60-1 is back. Ricky's missed 5 of 6 cuts here, and yet he has a top 10 in there. But Kuchar's not a bad long shot. I want a little bit more than 50-1 in this particular field, but still 50-1 for a player that has made 18 of 19 cuts with 12 top 25s, 4 top 5s, a runner-up, and a win. And his last event, and he's got the week off, he's coming in with a little fresher legs, which will even things up a little bit considering he is older. He's coming up after that 3rd place finish at Texas. So I think this is a good week for him. I didn't get him on my picks, but I'll probably throw a buck or two on him this week.
Yeah, I can, every Sunday night after I do my research, I just jot down all the players I'm considering, and I want to check their odds in the morning. And Cooch made my list. I was hoping for like a 75 to 1 on him. And when I saw 50, I was like, yeah, I don't like the number quite enough. But it is another guy that this is the type of course you want to be betting Matt Kuchar on.
Fleetwood, Siwoo Kim, Thagala, Rose, and Poston are 65 to 1. I considered Fleetwood a little bit, but decided not. He finished 10th here last year. Then Thagala, I'm not even sure why he's 65 to 1 on this golf course. Didn't play well here last year. Poston's the interesting one. Unfortunately, he's 65 to 1. And you might say, well, that's pretty high, but look at the field. He should not be 65 to 1. But look, if you want to throw a buck on him, I got no problem with that because this is a horse for course kind of dude. He's played here 4 times. He's got 3 top 10s and a 3rd last year.
Yeah, you're definitely paying for the course history with Poston at 65 to 1. The guy I considered in this range was actually Siwoo Kim. I think we've mentioned it a few times this year. He's kind of a Pete Dye specialist. He does well on Pete Dye tracks. That includes I think he had a 2nd place here, right? Yeah, 2nd place here back in 2018. So he has flashed some upside here. So, again, I just wanted a bit more than 65 on Siwoo, but I do think he's someone worth looking at.
80 to 1. Let's see. Actually, the 90 to 1 is interesting. That's Webb Simpson. Sort of like Kuchar. I think Simpson, I'm going to be intrigued because if he plays well this week, then it's time for us to start paying a little bit of attention to Webb because he was 24th at Bay Hill, 7th at Valspar. That's 2 of his last 3. He's made 12 of 13 cuts here, 8 top 20s. He's got a runner-up and a win just a few years ago, and he's 90 to 1. So, again, I'm not picking him, but another player I'll throw a buck on. And, hey, if I can make $90 on a buck, it's not the worst idea in the world. So a guy, though, that, like I said, if he plays well again this week, we'll keep an eye on him down the road.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his numbers. Like the irons seem to be back. He's putting well again, which he wasn't for a while there. He's still struggling off the tee, which he definitely needs to get figured out this week. He can't be wild here. But yeah, I'm with you. He's definitely someone to keep an eye on going forward here.
100 to 1. Taylor Montgomery, your boy Tom Hogue, 100 to 1.
Yeah.
And let's see. Now, a couple of 110 to 1s. Now, Power's 110 to 1. And he played here last year for the first time and finished 6th. I just don't like the way he's playing right now. But he is 110 to 1. Minwoo Lee's 110 to 1. And we're going to get to a player that is on my list. Denny McCarthy at 110 to 1. I threw a few bucks on him as one of those super long shots. He's played here 4 times, made 3 cuts, 1 top 15. And in the last 6 stroke play events, he has 4 top 20s. I also like the fact, because you were talking about how Pebble Beach with the small greens, he played well at Pebble. And I think, you know what, matter of fact, if I recall, let's see. Yeah, if I recall, Jordan Spieth was runner-up at Pebble, another player that's usually good at Pebble, the last year, and then won the event. So the whole short green kind of deal, that might be something that actually works for several players. So I figured, hey, why not throw a few bucks on a long shot like McCarthy?
Yeah, so we displayed the top 10 players on those short courses. Danny McCarthy's actually 11th.
Okay.
So he just missed that list.
Okay.
So this is the type of course you want to be giving McCarthy a shot. I like it.
All right. At 130 to 1, we have another one of my players, and I'm going to put a few bucks on Sepp Straka. So Sepp was 3rd here last year, and that was after he had one. I forget what it was. What did he win? La Honda. And then he finished a strong 3rd here last year. And then also almost won with your boy Zalatoris a little bit. So it was a really, up and down, but really good on the ups for Straka last year. He's never going to be considered, a consistently good player. But I figured, you know what, he's a very, he's a somewhat accurate player. And, he looks like he's like close to potentially, putting a couple of really good rounds back to back to getting contention. So that's why I put him on my list.
Yeah, I think you alluded to it. He's the type of volatile player you want from a long shot, right? Like, I'm looking at his numbers even this year. He has those spike weeks where he's really good with the irons, and that's what he's going to need here, and he's capable of doing it. So I think he's worth a look at that type of price.
Fox, who we're starting to see more, is 130 to 1. Kurt Kitayama, I'm surprised he's 130 to 1. He's playing a lot better than that. Joel Damon's had a good history here. He's 130 to 1. How about Cam Davis? Your boy Cam Davis is 130 to 1. And if you take a look at his history here, he's played the last 2 years, both top 25s, finished third last year, and he's on one of your lists, isn't he?
Yes, the course history list.
Oh, okay.
He was, right? Yeah, 7th in course history.
Yeah, that's the 2 top 25s.
I still think he's broken right now. He's lost on approach in 6 of his last 7 events now, and he's lost putting in 7 of his last 8. He was a good putter. I'm looking back, like he used to be a good putter. He can't putt right now.
Yeah, maybe he would have been better off in a non-elevated event.
Yeah, he'll be back. I'm gonna look for signs of life from him, but I don't think he's there yet.
Adam Scott's 130 to 1. Tyler Duncan is 150 to 1. He might be an interesting long shot. Then we get to your top long shot of the week, and that is Adam Svensson at 180 to 1. So why did you decide Svensson would be your long shot? He played here last year for the first time and finished 26th.
Yeah, give me Adam Svensson on a short golf course at 180 to 1, even in an elevated field. I mean, I'd be shocked if he won, but he's 180 to 1, so yeah. It would be a shock if he won. But this is the type of course you want him on. As you said, 26th here last year. That included 9th best in this field on approach last year. His short game is improving too. I've kind of noticed watching him, because I watch him as much as I can, because I usually am betting him, and it's showing up in the numbers too. He's kind of like an average around the green game player now, where he used to be really bad there. So that's encouraging. Again, he is 33rd best in this field on short courses. He's 21st best in this field on Pete Dye courses. Those are nice rankings, considering this is a loaded field. To be 33rd and 21st in this stacked of a field, that's pretty encouraging. So I'll throw a few bucks on Svensson at 180 to 1.
Have you been who was the Canadian you took last year? Was it Svensson?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, and then he won when in the
he won in the fall.
In the fall.
Yep.
Okay.
He won without me.
That's really cool when it happens.
But that was an RSM, which is that's a short golf course. Yeah, I think that's and you look at this year, he played well. I guess he played well at Genesis, which is not a short golf course. But that's generally, he came 13th in the Players. That's a short golf course. I think that's he's not a long hitter. He's an accuracy guy.
What is he? He's 61st in the world right now. Okay, that's not too bad. And the one other player that I took, and I just threw a couple of bucks on him. I figured why not, and that is Danny Willett, because he's 300 to 1, and he does have a top 20 here a couple of years ago. He's playing better, so I'm. That's really all that is just a 300 to 1, and I was actually close to putting a couple of bucks also on my boy Shank, but I decided against that one. But all right, let's see. So that's anybody else that we didn't talk about?
Let me pull up my list. Who else? So Hoagie, I know you mentioned. I did consider him because, again, he is truly an elite iron player if you look at the numbers, and that's important on this golf course. A couple other long shots I just looked at. Ben Martin, who I bet him actually a couple. I bet him at Valero. He continues to play pretty well, and then Aaron Rye I looked at too. Just another shorter accuracy guy. He hits a ton of fairways, so it should be a good spot for Rye. So he's worth a look. I know he's over 100 to 1.
What about I know one of the guys we didn't talk about, and the only reason I'm not even considering him is because he just won a few months ago, and that's Russell Henley.
Yeah, and coming off a really nice performance at Augusta, which should not be a good course for him. This is a good course for Russell Henley. He's a shorter hitter, so but he's like 50 to 1, isn't he?
45 to 1, I think.
Yeah, too low for me. I'd need like 60, 65 at least.
But then again, Russell Henley always seems to get generous odds, to tell you the truth. Not generous.
Yeah.
Those odds are a little bit lower for whatever reason.
Yep.
Not sure why, but hey, it paid off for him a few months ago. The thing is, I just expecting Russell Henley to win twice in a 3-month span. I'm just not going to buy that just yet, especially at 45 to 1. All right. So before we wrap up, as I promised, let's talk about the PGA futures, because it's too late to get good odds like you were able to get on Brooks Koepka and Cameron Young, because Koepka's odds have dropped all the way down to on sports books. Now on DraftKings, they still have 20.
Brooks is 20 to 1. Yep, 20 to 1. Cam Young is 28 20. Yeah, I was telling Greg before the show started, I had an itchy trigger finger on Thursday. You know, as soon as I saw Brooks and Cam start to play well at Augusta, I went to check their odds, and I got Brooks at 46 to 1 and Cam Young for 40 to 1. Yeah, I've just been impressed. I'm impressed by Cam Young in general, and I've been super impressed by him in majors. You know, this last year and change now.
Yeah, they still have him at 28 to 1 at DraftKings.
That's not bad. I'd still consider that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
I think he's down to 20 to 1 at Bovada.
Yep.
Let's see now.
So I think we've talked about it, but I live 15 minutes from Oak Hill, and I was able to play 9 holes there last summer, and I've been there a few times. I think it's going to play similar to how Southern Hills played last year, where they had the PGA Championship. Now, it was super windy in Tulsa there. It probably won't be that windy here in Rochester. It might be, who knows, but likely not. So that's going to be a difference. But just how the course looks, how it's going to play, I think it's going to be similar to Southern Hills.
Okay.
And of course, you had Justin Thomas win that. You had Cam Young show well in that tournament. So, that's part of the reason I'm interested in Cam Young at the PGA next month.
So I was wondering why Justin Thomas was 14 to 1, considering how he's playing. But like you said, let's see. Anybody else look like So, by the way, we didn't talk about Cam Smith, because Cam Smith just didn't play well, and see, we were wondering about some of these Live Tour guys, but yeah, Cam Smith has so far been kind of quiet this year.
Yeah, it was an awesome Masters for Liv. It just wasn't the guys we expected it to be, right? I mean, Cam Smith and Dustin Johnson are both pretty disappointing, but you had Brooks, Phil, and Patrick Reed up at the top of the leaderboard.
Mickelson.
So,
yep. Oh yeah, you said
Phil,
it. Yeah, yep. The 3 of those guys. It's but that's the thing. You just don't know. So yeah, at this point in time, there's no way you could put any money on Cameron Smith right now until he gets his game going. I mean, Max is 25 to 1.
Yeah. I'm saving him for the U.S. Open back in California.
Yep. So am I.
Kind of same deal with Morikawa.
Cam Young's 28 to 1.
I like Cam Young. I mean, Finau's 35 to 1. That's always tempting. I mean, again, Victor, this could be a decent course for Victor Hovland. Around the greens at Oak Hill, it's a lot of that. Again, this is why it reminds me of Southern Hills. It's a lot of the shaved runoffs, where it's not the super thick rough. And I think Vic, sometimes he can pull putter there. He doesn't have to, be hacking it out of deep rough. I think, maybe Vic's lack of short game will kind of be mitigated at Oak Hill. So I think he, is interesting at this course.
Jason Day is 40 to 1. Yeah,
Jason Day, my God. He was the best. He was one of, if not the best player in the field for the first 2.5 rounds at Augusta. And then I don't know what happened.
I mean, just imagine. I mean, it was like I'm looking at the leaderboard there for a couple of days, and I see Koepka and Day at the top. I'm going, this couldn't be any better.
Yep.
And then Day just fell apart. Not sure what happened.
Fell apart.
Yeah, so I don't see any other bargains, especially anything late. But look, we've talked about some of these players to keep an eye on if they start playing a little bit better. So that's just like Jared did. I mean, sometimes it'll only take a round or two this weekend. If you see somebody playing well heading into the weekend, take a look at the PGA Championship odds, and maybe you'll get better odds.
The last guy I'll mention, again, I don't want to overdo the Southern Hills connection, but Mito Pereira,
There you
who
go.
obviously had that thing won, and didn't play super well at Augusta, but did make the cut. Ended up finishing 43rd, but he's 100-1 right now for the PGA.
There you go. That's not bad. Because so all Mito has to do is win a live event, and those odds would probably be cut in half.
Exactly.
So maybe that's what you need to do is pay attention to it, because he actually played pretty well at the live event last week. So keep an eye on that. Yeah. So we'll be updating this though. The problem is that once we're done with RBC Heritage, everybody knows by now, if you've been watching this show, what I think about next week's event. So much so that we're not even going to have a show next week. So we are taking off, by the way. It just we forgot to, we mentioned that about a month ago, but yeah, I'm looking at my calendar and I realized that's right. We're not doing the show next week. Okay. So yeah, it has nothing to do with one and dones, and it's just awful. It's an awful event. So, but the week after that, you have Mexico, and they're not elevating Mexico, so it's going to be a pretty weak field, you would think, just like last year. Rahm is the defending champ, so maybe we'll see him there. Who knows? And then what's after that? Before we get to the PGA in May.
So then we get Wells Fargo, which is elevated.
Oh, that's a good one.
That'll be good. And then it's Byron Nelson, which will be a weak field. And then it's PGA.
All right. So it's Wells Fargo is the only really good event between now and the PGA. And that'll be, like you said, an elevated. Rory's really good at the at Wells Fargo. So
he is.
Homa's good.
Homa's our defending champ. So
isn't he won there twice, Homa?
Yes, he has. I think that was our first show last year.
Was it really?
And I had Homa. And then,
no wonder why he's one of your favorite golfers.
Yes, he is.
There's something going on there. By the way, if you didn't hear me talking about trends, it's because there really aren't any trends, especially with the elevated event coming in. I didn't find any trends. I just didn't. I mean, the only thing I got is 6 of the last 10 winners missed the cut in a previous event, including 4 at the Masters. And the last 10 winners averaged 42nd in the world ranking before winning. 2 of the last 4 ranked outside the top 100. But again, it's an elevated event. So, it's going to be hard. As far as the round-by-round trends, last year's winner, Jordan Spieth, started 32nd after round 1. 6 shots back, still won. He was 3 shots back before after the third round and won the event. Matter of fact, if you look back in 19, 18, and 17, 54th, 82nd, and 35th to start the first round. So, but those are different fields. And just taking a look recently, 2 of the last 3 round 3 leaders did win. Stewart Cink and Webb Simpson. But once again, even the round by round trends, you just can't go into it too much because this is a completely different field. So
for sure. I'm excited for it though. It's a fun golf course, and it'll be.
I'm excited for it because of how kind of, what really was disappointing though about this past week was the weather. It just destroyed the flow of the event. Yep. And it really was a major reason why it was a downer. So I agree with you. I never thought I'd be looking forward to the RBC Heritage before, but after the disappointing, maybe we'll get some excitement on Sunday. So
hope so.
All right, so that'll wrap it up, Jared. Appreciate it, and can't wait to talk about the PGA Championship next month, especially since you're going to be there. So we'll have to.
Can't wait.
Yeah, we're going to think about doing a live betting show on Friday because you're going to be there. So you would be calling. Where would you'll be home though, right? You're going home.
Yeah, I'll come home. Do it from there. But I'll be right home from the course.
It's home from the course. It's your home course.
Oh, I wish it was.
Yeah, right.
But
those fees would be a little expensive. Fun. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
All right, Jared. Talk to you in 2 weeks. We'll talk to everybody when we preview Mexico. So good luck to anybody who cares much about New Orleans. And by the way, if you care about it and you want to know about what our any analysis that we have, or if you want some picks, Jared might have some picks for you. Leave your comments, and Jared will get back to you and let you know what he thinks about next week's events. So, but you got to leave the comments on the comment section of this video for Jared to respond to you. So, Jared, enjoy the week off next week, and I'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
All right. See you, Craig.